the Cedar Thicket Bridge. In the rolling green hills of Kentucky, two brothers named Gideon and Sterling grew up side by side. They shared everything, from their favorite fishing spots to the chores on their family farm. But when the Great War between the North and the South began, the brothers found themselves looking at the world in two very different ways. Kentucky was a state caught in the middle, and soon, the brothers were caught in the middle too. One morning, with heavy hearts, they reached a fork in the road. Gideon believed in staying with the Union, while Sterling felt his loyalty belonged to the South. They shook hands, promising to look out for one another if they ever met again. They didn't know that their paths would cross sooner than they thought, on a cold winter night far from home in a place called Stones River, Tennessee. By December, Gideon had become a soldier for the Union. He wore a heavy sack coat made of dark blue wool that kept out the biting wind. His jacket was fastened with bright brass buttons that featured the image of an eagle. He wore sky blue trousers and a flat-topped hat called a forage cap. Around his waist was a black leather belt with a large brass buckle that read U.S. Sterling had joined the Confederate Army. His uniform was different. He wore a short, gray wool jacket known as a shell jacket. His trousers were a brownish-yellow color called butternut, dyed with the hulls of nuts from back home. Instead of a stiff cap, he wore a soft, wide-brimmed slouch hat to keep the rain off his face. His gear was simple, featuring a tin cup dangling from a canvas haversack. It was New Year's Eve, 1862. The two armies were camped so close together that they could hear each other's voices. As the sun set, a Union band began to play a song, and a Confederate band joined in. Thousands of men from both sides sang "Home Sweet Home" together in the dark. Gideon sat by his small fire, wondering if Sterling was listening to the same music across the cold, frozen field. The music ended, and the battle began at dawn. The air was filled with the smell of smoke and the loud boom of cannons. Sterling ran through the tall, dead grass, his gray jacket blending in with the winter mist. The ground was hard with frost, and the woods were thick with cedar trees. He ducked behind a limestone rock, his heart hammering against his ribs as the world turned into a whirlwind of noise. Gideon's unit was pushed back into a dense forest of cedar trees. The branches were so thick they blocked out the sun, making the afternoon feel like twilight. The soldiers called this place the slaughter pen because the fighting was so fierce. Gideon found a massive cedar tree and pressed his back against it, catching his breath while the wind whistled through the green needles above. On the other side of that same thick tree, a soldier in gray was doing the exact same thing. Sterling had lost his way in the smoke and found the cedar grove to be the only place to hide. He sat on the frozen ground, his butternut trousers stained with mud. He closed his eyes for a second, wishing he was back in Kentucky, far away from the cannons and the cold. A twig snapped, and both men jumped. They rounded the tree with their hands raised, only to stop in their tracks. The blue sleeves met the gray sleeves. Gideon looked at the slouch hat, and Sterling looked at the brass eagle buttons. In the middle of the most terrible day of their lives, the two brothers were standing face to face. For a moment, the war seemed to vanish, replaced by the silence of the cedars. They didn't fight. Instead, they sat down together in the hidden circle of the trees. Gideon pulled out a piece of hardtack cracker, and Sterling shared a drink from his tin cup. For 1 hour on New Year's Eve, they weren't enemies, they were just brothers. When the sun began to set, they hugged and retreated back to their own sides, carrying the hope that one day they would meet again back on the porch in Kentucky.